Hey, Dr. Anica here. I am so thrilled to have you back for a new episode of our series. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing the Vice President of NOW, which is the National Organization for Women, Christian Nunes. And I'm so thrilled to have her because I think she's going to share with us some incredible insights and thoughts, and I can't wait for you to hear them. Thank you so much for being here, Christian.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Anica.
We're going to go right into it. So my first question for you is that much of your work and your activism is really centered around things like racial justice and women's issues and mental health. And in the time of COVID, we really see an intersection of all of those things like never before. Mm-hmm. What groups are you sort of most concerned about in this time?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because I think it's important that we give voice to the issues of those marginalized groups and groups that are oppressed. And those are really the groups that I'm most concerned about right now. You know, we are hearing lots of news about frontline workers, essential workers, Black and brown communities being drastically impacted, disproportionately impacted because of this COVID-19. And we're seeing that because this is also very much an economic justice issue, right? If we're thinking about it, it's a racial justice and economic justice issue. So the women of color are greatly impacted and affected. Those include essential workers, non-domestic workers. They include, nurses in the fields. A lot of times women-dominated fields are women, and they were forcing women greatly impacted. And we also know those communities that don't have access to financial support, healthcare access. They have food deserts are also being really impacted, which makes more of a racial justice, economic justice issue. And so we're really concerned about them and how it's affecting their livelihood this time.
Absolutely. And I think just even putting a face to what an essential worker looks like is really right up what you're saying, right along those lines. Taking it a little bit further, we've seen a rise in domestic violence reports during COVID. We've also seen the disproportionate impact it's been having on Black and brown communities. And just as a side note, I feel as though so many times the way that those numbers get reported, it's almost as if being Black is a pre-existing condition to having COVID, when in actuality, it's sort of the consequences that come in a racialized society of being Black that makes them susceptible. But nevertheless, we still see that disproportionate impact, happening on those communities. What are your biggest concerns about the well-being of those marginalized groups in this time?
Well, Dr. Nikki, you just hit it right on the head. And I think a big concern for me is how it's being portrayed in media, as if Black and brown communities contribute to the fact that they are more susceptible to getting COVID-19. We start talking about, they don't have this and this and that, but we're not looking at like the structural racism, how United States is built, which contributes to this constant, subpar access to resources, subpar pay for jobs that you do. We're not looking at all those structural racism that factors that are contributing to why this is really impacting them. We're not looking at the fact that Flint, Michigan still does not have clean drinking water during COVID-19, and that's predominantly African-American community. So is it their fault that they don't have clean drinking water? Or is it the fact that their state has failed them to provide this resource for them that they absolutely deserve to have basic human right? Drinking water. And we're not looking at the fact that, we look at when we go to different communities, we know that there's grocery stores are miles and miles and miles apart, and fresh produce and foods that can help you live a good, healthy lifestyle are very expensive. And when we're looking at those communities that are overly impoverished communities, well, you have a choice. I'm getting this much money in my paycheck, or if I'm getting this many food stamps, if you are on food stamps, and I have to make the stretch for like a family of 5, right? Can I really afford to eat everything organic? Can I really afford to buy all these produce when I can stretch beans and rice, or I can stretch a bag of chicken, And so we have to really look at these things and not blame the community for why they are greatly disproportionately affected, but start looking at our systems that put in place to keep them kind of like, pigeonholed from really being able to have the quality they deserve and access. So I really wanted to do more focus on that. I was seeing when I saw Dr. Fauci's interview, he gave attention to it, but the way he addressed it was like, well, we're going to have to look at this a little bit more. And it's like, no, Dr. Fauci, that's not how we want to do this. Great. I don't want to talk bad about Dr. Fauci, but I'm just saying it's a typical where we start going into like, what can they do to fix themselves and not looking at the root cause is why they're experiencing these things. So I'm really hoping and really looking forward to some more work regarding root causes to come out in policy so we can change this.
And that's perfect, because that goes right to my next question about policy. I really feel that if there's any good that's come from COVID, it's that it has highlighted, underscored, underlined, and put in big bold letters the detrimental consequences that come with the social inequities that have long existed in this country. And for you, then, what are some policies, perhaps, given all your activism work, what are some policies that perhaps you'd want to see implemented, altered, even eliminated, that perhaps beyond the time of COVID could advance racial equity and justice in this country?
So there's three. So the first would be paid sick time and paid medical, and then second, paid family leave. And the third would be Medicare for all, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason why I'm putting this order is because let's look at sick time. Employers can choose whether to give their employees sick time or not. And a lot of these jobs that are essential worker jobs or restaurant, grocery store, CNAs, low working wages, or, hourly wage jobs, they're not given sick time, and so there becomes a place where what happens if someone gets sick in their family? What if they get sick? If they don't get sick time, like let's use COVID, for instance, you start feeling symptomatic, right?
Yeah.
Yet you have to provide for your family. So you're just thinking to yourself, well, it's just a cough, or I just feeling the flu symptoms. And because you can't afford to take off work to go to the doctor because you don't have sick time and you will go unpaid, and also possibly risk your job to absentee issues, right? Yeah. So then you don't go get treated. You go to work, okay? And your symptoms increase. And so now you've gone and you have been treated, you have been tested, but you also possibly have exposed other people because you have not had the opportunity to take the time you need for self-care and rest and get well and stay at home, take care of your health, go to a doctor. That goes into family pay leave if you have children, right? Right. You have children, and we have all these schools closing and all these daycares closing, and these parents, where do they do with their children? What can they do? Because we're not mandating paid family medical leave time to take care of children. It's like, well, your child's sick. What are you supposed to do? Bring your sick child to work? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's very difficult, for these families, so then they also face the risk of missing work and missing pay, and then affecting their ability to care for their family. Because we know majority of United States Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So one paycheck with 1 to 2 days missed because your child has 102 fever can make a huge impact on your financial stability. So that leads me to the third one, which is Medicare for all. It's because we should not have to worry about quality of care based on our financial stability, our financial means. So if we have Medicare for all, then that means everyone's having the same type of quality care that they can get, because their insurance is not going to be, well, we would hope, but their insurance, is not going to be the barrier to them being able to go to doctor's appointments or go get prescriptions so they can be compliant with their medications. That Medicare for all will make sure the costs are kept to a certain point. Okay, there's no price gouging, there's no overcharging communities for pharmacies because it's the only pharmacy in that community. And it'll make sure that they're able to get the same access to services at a reasonable amount that they can afford, as best as possible. So it's, these things are all kind of dominoing to each other. And, we can't expect the person to say, okay, well, we give you paid sick time, but we'll make sure you can afford your doctor appointment.
Right.
So we
go bankrupt because of it.
Right, exactly. And so we have to make sure that we're hitting it in all areas, not just leaving out one.
Absolutely. And I think, based on what you're saying, I just feel like it underscores this idea that we truly are our brother's keeper, right? So often we have this mindset, I think, when it comes to social justice issues, that it's, well, that's them, they need to sort that out, and not really see how it impacts us in our lives. And COVID again has shown, well, if this person that you don't really think about but belongs to this marginalized group, they're not getting the care that they need, we still can't leave our houses, right? Like they
exactly.
To be careful. So it is an us problem as well as a them problem.
Right. And you're hearing everyone use that hashtag, we're in this together, right? We're hearing that quite often. And if we are in this together, that means I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper. And so I'm going to choose actions that I know will support the justice for them, right? Exactly. That's essentially what we will be doing. Exactly.
So along those lines then, as we wrap up today, for somebody who wants to get involved socially at this time, what would be something that you'd recommend that they do? A resource, perhaps?
Sure. So there's a couple of things, Congress is still at work, they're still advocating, they're still passing legislation. So you can still reach out to your senators and ask them to, put your opinions out on different acts and bills that are taking place. Also asking them to make a stance against things that are violating of human rights and civil rights and things like that as well. So I definitely would encourage people to continue to make those phone calls to their senators, participate in town halls that are talking about ways that we can all help within our means. I think are very important. YWCA is having one. Congressional Progressive Cross Caucus is having one. Just really talking about the different things that we can do as well. With NOW, we send out weekly. President Tony Van Pelt sends out a message to our members weekly about what's going on and just showing that we care and that we want to take care of each other. So I think organizations still can do that, and then find out ways that you can give and whatever within your means, and be helpful. Yeah. If that's making phone calls for someone that's still running for office that we believe will actually make difference, make those calls, I think there's ways that we can do things where it may not always be like, you're donating $5, but you can make a call or 3 calls that's worth more than that $5 if we're going to get a person elected into office that's really going to stand for us. So I just encourage everyone to still stay active in your means via virtual web or phone, and just continue on in that area.
I love that. And I love the way you kept saying within your means, that it's not everybody do exactly the same thing, is really thinking what resources you have right now and how can you use those to get socially involved and engaged to move some of these policies forward, like you were just highlighting.
Exactly.
Yeah. As you think about this in 5 words or less, what would be something you'd say to someone who does belong to a marginalized group about how to deal in this time? What would you say to them?
I would tell them that I see them. I see you. I'm an African American woman. I'm a single mother. And so I was raised by a single mother that was teenage mother, So I understand how this impacts them as well as an individual person, And so I see them. I want them to know I see you. I understand what you're experiencing, and I'm going to fight for you. I will continue to fight for you.
That is beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much, Christian, for being here. Tell us, if we want to get connected with you or connected with NOW, what can we do? How can we go about doing that?
Sure. So with NOW, we have a nice, easy website, www.now.org. You can join and become a member, or you can just go online and read some of the things that we're doing and find out what NOW is doing on initiatives that we're pushing forward. We like to post call to actions on there. We also have a Facebook page where we post different events and call to actions. So that's a great way to get involved. We have state and local chapters. You can involve locally in your state. And you can find the information from our national website as well. And I'm available, reach out to me. I'm easily available at now.org. You can call and email, and I'll just return a calls if I can. I'm trying my best to be a person of contact, So, but just definitely just encourage you. If you have something you think you would like to pass to NOW, they can pass it to you, and I'm sure you'll get it to me, and we can make sure that we are representing the voices of everyone who maybe has not been represented so much that they need to be in the past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christian, for being
Thank
here.
you.
You're welcome. And thank you everyone for watching. I really hope that you just took some of those gems to heart and that you'd get involved with your local organizations, within your local legislature, and on a national level, getting Congress people active and working on your behalf and on the behalf of your neighbors as well. Join us for the next episodes coming out really soon. Thank you so much again. See you.
Thank you. Bye.